As any NFL team gets set to play another, they obviously are going to try and develop a game plan. But for the Detroit Lions getting set to play the Dallas Cowboys, is it possible they already know what they're going to do? We're going to talk about it, folks. So stay tuned.
What are we? What makes us what we are and what we're going to be? It's grit. It's what we started with last year, guys. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and three toes. I will beat your ass.
Can definitely compete with the big dogs.
10-5 end zone touchdown Detroit Lions.
You guys are unbelievable, man. I'm telling you.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, Lions friends and family members. Welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike. And as always, we're diving on in. My friends, as we already know, this game that we've got coming up against the Dallas Cowboys is perhaps one of the biggest games in the NFL for the entirety of this whole year. Now, that's a matter of opinion, obviously, depending upon what fan base you're a part of, whether or not you consider the Lions, Cowboys, that whole thing to be something of importance. But regardless if you don't think it's one of the biggest games of the year, it is definitely by far the probable biggest game of the NFL this week. Because if you think about it, between the past history of the bad calls that have gone whenever the Lions and the Cowboys have played each other, the revenge factor for this particular game after what happened last year, and then on top of that, the fact that this game is on Jerry Jones's birthday of all things, it's simply too big of a game to ignore on any singular level. So this is a pretty damn big game. Like, there's no way around it. Now, the Lions are obviously preparing for the Cowboys, and they're preparing to go into Jerry World to try and beat the Cowboys, which is seemingly to be, like, always what we are doing. Obviously, the Lions are going to go into this game. They're going to have a razor-sharp focus. They're going to have a vicious mindset of about attacking the Cowboys and, trying to give them a literal good old ass whooping, kind of like, like anybody else would. But they're going to try and put, Dan Campbell's unique little twist and spin on it. Probably biting kneecaps and kicking, and don't matter if you got one ass cheek and three toes, that whole kind of nonsense. So it's going to be one of those games where I definitely am expecting the Lions to come out with a very physical mindset as to how they're going to go against the Cowboys. So I know this much. The Lions themselves are not going to underestimate the Cowboys. They're going to go into this game expecting the Cowboys to give them their best shot, and they're going to go into the game expecting that the Cowboys are going to have the mindset as well to do the exact same thing to us. And neither should we, the fans, have any misunderstandings that the Cowboys should be underestimated or that we're just going to walk in there and we're just going to absolutely steamroll them. I'm expecting it's going to still be a good game, but my thought process is that the Lions are going to, based upon their sheer amount of willpower and effort, they're going to overpower the freaking Cowboys. And then at the end of it all, I think that's what's going to make it look like, hey, the Lions really came to play. But willpower and, effort, that's all one thing. Because some teams, obviously you can win just because you want it more. But here comes my thought process, which is the basis for this episode. Is it entirely possible that the Lions already know exactly what the Cowboys are going to do going into this game? Now, I know, that sounds like a rather radical thought. That sounds like a rather outrageous and bold thought to even consider. But I'm not trying to do this just to have a clickbait article. I'm not trying to have a clickbait title. I'm not trying to have a clickbait image. I genuinely believe that the Lions might just actually know exactly how the Cowboys are going to try and attack the Lions this game. And I expect that it's going to pretty much fall under the same parameters that, I've been dealing with for the last couple of weeks. So, if you guys are skeptical, I understand that. But please hear me out, listen to what I have to say, and let me show you why I'm making this statement. And, please don't just assume that I've got no evidence to back it up. So let's first and foremost, I've already talked about the Dallas defense. Let's talk about the Dallas offense in this game. Since obviously we're talking about Dallas trying to attack us. We're talking about Dallas and their game plan against us. So I'm naturally talking about their offense. I'm going to put the stats up on the screen as I normally do when I'm talking about a team here in general. But when you take a look at Dallas's offense so far on the year, you are going to get a very, very clear picture damn straight away. Like there's no way around this. Their offense is the very definition of a literal one-trick pony. Their passing offense is where they make their money. Because if you take a look at their pass offense versus their run offense, it is a literal night and day difference. Their rush offense is literally at the bottom of the league, whereas their passing offense is towards the top of the league. They literally are night and day difference when it comes to their pass versus their run in terms of their offensive workload. In fact, it is so bad. Of the 1,768 yards that they have accumulated so far this year, 76.8% of their, total of that is from their passing offense, where only a mere 23.2% comes from their running game. It is ridiculously lopsided. Like, you are talking about an almost non-existent rush offense, and that is bad. Like, they literally cannot run the ball for crap. That is literally how bad their offense is in terms of running the ball. Now, in terms of other things about their offense that's pretty bad is also they're not very good at being able to stay clean and not get dirty laundry thrown their way. And on top of that, their red zone offense is not as good as you would expect. It's ranked only 22nd, folks. So this is an offense that is very, very peculiar. It's great at passing the ball, but it can't run worth a damn. It also gets a whole hell of a lot of dirty laundry, and it can score on drives quite a bit, but when it gets into the red zone, it sputters, which tells me this. Whenever they do score points, it's typically outside of the red zone, and more often than not, it's probably going to be field goals. So that right there already starts putting you in a frame of mindset of, okay, this is what this Cowboys offense is going to most likely be able to provide. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk about here. Now, getting into the rush offense a little bit more. Like I said, their run offense is just absolutely abysmal. If you think about this, like I said, their run offense is towards the literal bottom of the league. Like 2 out of the 4, main components of a rushing offense in terms of statistics, they're literally 31st. So I decided to say, okay, here, is this because of the fact that they've just faced a whole hell of a lot of good rush defenses, or their offense is really that bad? It's because they have not faced a whole lot of great run defenses. It's actually their offense is that bad when it comes to running the ball. 2 out of the 5 rush defenses that they have faced have been terrible in terms of rush per average, which is a better barometer of being able to understand how good or bad a team is in terms of rush defense and also in terms of running the ball in general. Because maybe you may not have a lot of yards, but if you're able to pick up 5+ yards per carry or 4.5+ yards per carry, you're doing something right. Well, when you take a look at the 2 teams that are absolutely terrible in that category, the Browns and the Giants, on the year so far, both of them have been giving up on average 5+ yards a carry. Well, in the game when the Cowboys played them against the Browns, the Cowboys only got 4.1 on average a carry for all their ball carriers. And in the Giants, they only got 3.5. And the Giants are freaking second from the bottom with that 5.1 per carry. So if the Giants are one of the worst rush defenses in terms of average per rush, so the actual barometer of what you're trying to say is a good defense in terms of run defense, and the Cowboys can only get 3.5 yards on average a rush, that right there ought to tell you something. And then on top of that, in terms of being able to run rushing touchdowns, 3 out of those teams that the freaking Cowboys have faced have below average to terrible rush defenses in terms of how many rushing touchdowns they've given up. Those 3 teams are the Ravens, the Saints, and again, the Browns. If you take a look at them, the Ravens and the Saints are about midway in terms of how many touchdowns they've given up on the ground. But the Browns, again, almost damn near the bottom. The Cowboys have literally only had 2 rushing touchdowns this year. One against the Ravens, the other against the Browns. That's it. So that right there ought to tell you something. Out of all the games that they could have possibly punched the ball in running the ball, they've literally only had 2. And that was against 2 of the worst rush defenses in that category, and they couldn't capitalize more than 1 time each. That's bad. And then when you take a look at how the Cowboys' offensive line is graded, it gets even worse. Again, you're talking about some of the worst rush defenses, either in terms of yards per average rushed or in terms of rushing touchdowns, right? Well, if you go to PFF and you take a look at the Cowboys' offensive line in terms of pass blocking grades and run blocking grades, it's not too particularly good for them. The pass grade is their worst component of those two. They're graded at 58.7. That is 26th worst in the league. Which, you want to know what's funny? That's directly right above the Seattle Seahawks. We'll get to that a little bit more later. But the run grade is at a 62.1. It's rated 18th. So wait a minute here. Their run grade is actually about average. But yet, despite that average run blocking grade, they still can't run the ball to save their life. And against some of the worst rush defenses, they cannot manage to do anything. Which tells me one simple thing. If the offensive line is actually doing at least a decent job, the problem lies with the running backs. Their running backs are absolute trash. They are literally just trash. So yeah, you're talking about an offense that is a literal one-trick pony. And it's a one-trick pony in the absolute worst way imaginable. So that's the run offense. And like I've been trying to get across here, the whole point I'm trying to get here is that the Cowboys' run offense, it's absolute booty cheeks. And when you think about the fact that the Lions have the 3rd best rush defense in terms of total yards given up, and they have the 5th best rush defense in terms of first downs given up, yeah, I'm pretty damn confident that the Cowboys are going to do what they've done all year. They're going to try and throw the ball to pick up yards and move the offense, and they're going to do it in a ridiculous amount. And you want to know how I know this? Let's take a look at Dak's, stats for the year. He has thrown the ball 191 times. He has a 65.4 completion percentage rate. He has a tick under 1,500 passing yards, 7.5 on average a throw, 8 touchdowns to 4 interceptions with a pass rating of 92.9 and a QBR of 56.8. If you take a look at those stats and the rankings, you're going to, again, get a very clear understanding of what's going on here. First and foremost, that 191 pass attempts, it is the 2nd most attempts in the NFL right now behind, wait for it, Geno Smith. Think about that. That's another damn interesting correlation. We just got done playing a team in the Seattle Seahawks where their offense was a one-trick pony. They threw the ball more than anybody else, and they threw the ball incessantly on our butts because that was all they really could do until the end of the game when Kenneth Walker got, opened up. But here's the problem. The Cowboys don't have no Kenneth Walker. They've got a washed-up freaking Ezekiel Elliott and a couple of nobodies. So that's one part of this problem. But despite the fact that Dak Prescott has ridiculously good numbers in terms of quantitative stats for passing yards, in terms of passing touchdowns, passing yards, and all that nonsense, when it comes to the qualitative stats, he's about average. His passer rating is ranked 16th. His QBR is ranked 15th. That's right smack dab in the middle. That's average. So that right there tells you that the only reason that the Cowboys even have what they have is because they are more of a volume offense in terms of throwing the ball a ridiculous amount rather than their offense being of qualitative production because of how much they're throwing. So again, they're just trying to throw as much as they can to hopefully pick up as much yardage they can and, score points. But they're not being actually very efficient about doing it. So again, we've now addressed both the run offense of the Cowboys and the pass offense of the Cowboys. But how exactly does that bode for the Lions? Well, here's how it bodes for us. I'm going to put some numbers up on the screen here. Let's talk about the Lions pass rush really quickly. Let's take a look at pressure percent, QB knockdown percent, QB hurry percent, blitz percent, and pass rush win rate as a total team. What you're going to notice is that the Lions are either literally just inside of top 10 or they're just outside of top 10. So as a pass rushing unit on the whole, we are a top 10 unit in terms of getting after the quarterback. That right there already does not bode well for Dak Prescott. Like I said earlier, their pass blocking grade, according to PFF, is 26th. That's bad. So again, our defensive line, our defensive rush component should be able to get after Dak Prescott. And then think about this. Take a look at all the guys that we have that are doing very well in the pass rushing component across the entirety of the offensive line. You got Hutch, you got Levi, you got McNeil, you got Reeder, and you got Wingo. Take a look at their numbers. Again, I am telling you, this is big. Hutch is the number 1 rated pass rusher in the entirety of the NFL, not only for edge, but for everybody. Then you take a look at Levi, he's 26th for interior defensive lineman. You take a look at McNeil, he's freaking 19th for interior defensive lineman. Reeder is tied 32nd, and Wingo is 35th. So again, all of our interior defensive linemen are top 40, but McNeil is actually top 20. You've literally got a whole bunch of good pass rushers across the entirety of that defensive line, which means that offensive line is going to have its hands full with our freaking defensive pass rushers. And if that weren't bad enough, the Cowboys are potentially looking at not having their top pass blocker in this game, which is their left tackle, their blindside tackle. Because in the game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, their blindside tackle, Tyler Guyton, he got his knee injured, and according to reports I've been reading from the Dallas Cowboys, he's considered day-to-day for this game, which, let's call it for what it is. That right there pretty much tells me that his chances of playing are probably less than 50%. So, we already know the Cowboys' offensive line at full strength is not good. Now you take out their best pass blocker, their blindside tackle, oh yeah, this is going to mean that our freaking pass rush, once again, is going to have a massive opportunity to get after the quarterback. Just like we had when we played the freaking Seattle Seahawks. I'm telling you, the freaking connections, the freaking correlations and similarities between the Cowboys and the Seahawks in terms of how we can play this game are just freaking ridiculously eerie. So again, that's talking about the pass rush. Now finally, there's the pass coverage, which that is what we know is going to definitely get tested for this game. There's no way around it. Again, the Lions are going to get the ball thrown on them a ridiculous amount, and that's because that's all the Cowboys can do. Again, you have one of the worst rush defenses, you have one of the worst rush offenses, and you're going up against one of the best rush defenses. That literally is not an ideal match. You're going to throw the football. Now, I know Cowboys fans are going to be extremely quick to point out our entire season's work for our cornerbacks in terms of their terrible PFF grades and also in terms of their overall stats. And you know what? That's fine. They can do that. But I'm going to tell you this. To do that would simply overlook how well our guys played against the Seattle Seahawks, who, like I've been pointing out this entire episode, have been a very similar opponent, a very similar offense in terms of what the Cowboys are going to do. Again, I'll put the stats up on the screen, but if you take a look at what Carlton Davis, Terrion Arnold, Amik Robertson, and Kirby Joseph did in that game against the Seattle Seahawks, they did immensely well in terms of statistics. And then when you include Branch in there, as far as what he's done over the totality of the season, because we're going to get him back, even though he didn't play against the Seahawks, you've got a really damn good secondary in terms of safeties and cornerbacks. Because considering how well our secondary played against a stacked wide receiver core for the Seattle Seahawks, and then you factor in, again, getting Branch back, and our freaking pass defense is getting better every single week, and in terms of the statistical component, played its best game against the Seahawks, I feel rather strongly that our pass defense, even though it's going to get tested quite a bit, we should be able to hold up. Because if you think about it, the Cowboys primarily are going to go and use CeeDee Lamb. Past that, they've got maybe a couple of other guys, but none of their other guys are a Tyler Lockett or a Jackson Smith-Njigba. And then they've got their tight end, which is Jake Ferguson. He's a pretty damn good tight end. But again, the total amount of weapons and qualitative amount of weapons that the Cowboys have on offense, at least in the passing game, compared to what the Seahawks have, it's not even the same. CeeDee Lamb and DK Metcalf, they match up rather well in terms of talent. But after that, the Cowboys don't really have anything that matches up to what the Seahawks had. So again, I'm trying to get you guys to think about this in the way I've been thinking about it. It's a very similar thought process and a very similar idea of what we faced against when we played the Seahawks. Now, that's why I'm saying nobody's going to argue about the talent that Dak has, that Lamb has, or Ferguson has. That's a pretty good ensemble of talent. But again, let's think about this, folks. Obviously, we know the Cowboys have a really good pass offense. But how well have the coverages been against the teams they've played? If you take a look at every single coverage grade from all the guys, or from all the teams they've played, and again, I'll put those up on the board, you're going to notice something. Only one team has got a coverage grade, according to PFF, that is better than ours, and that's the Giants. Everybody else has got a worse pass grade in terms of coverage than us. Okay, that's a very important thing to note, because when the Cowboys played the Steelers, they won by 3 points. And that was when Dak Prescott threw 2 interceptions and lost a fumble. And then the game against the Giants, they won by only 5 points. And that was with the Giants only running the ball for 26 damn yards. When you factor all that in, again, I like where this is going for us. So, I'm also going to point this out as well. Our pass rushing grade, according to PFF, is better than every single team in the NFL, accordingly, except the Steelers. Our run defense is at a 68.2, which is better than the Giants and the Saints. And our defensive grade as a whole, according to PFF, is second best in the NFL, a 76.6. The only team that's better than us, at least in that component, is, again, the Steelers. And like I said, the Steelers pretty much, were almost handed that game by the Cowboys. The Cowboys found a way to somehow snatch victory from the jaws of defeat at the end of the game. But that's my whole point. The Steelers, their defense was able to pretty much hold the Cowboys' offense in check. But our offense is like freaking 100 times better than what the Steelers is. So needless to say, again, I like how our defense matches up with the Cowboys' offense here. And I believe that because we're going up against another one-dimensional offense, which we just got done playing 2 weeks ago, we know what we're going to be getting ourselves into here. And again, I believe our pass coverage not only showed in the Seattle game that we can play rather well against that, but we are getting better every single outing. And we just had an extra week of practice to prepare for this team. So again, I like where we're at. I think that we're going to be able to do fine. And that's why I said, going into this episode, why I think the Lions already have a sound idea what the Cowboys are going to do. And as I have demonstrated, I believe that they can stop it. I believe that they will have a good chance to stop it. But anyway, folks, I presented the evidence. You guys decide with it what you will, but I think it's pretty convincing. I think it's pretty thorough. Having said that, I'm going to end this episode and say thank you all for watching yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage y'all to watch the next episode. Also encourage y'all to do one of these 3 things: like, comment, and subscribe. If by chance you subscribed in the past and you forgot to do so at the time, or you just subscribed and you not had a chance to do so, again, I want to highly encourage y'all to do that, but also make sure you hit that bell notification icon as well, so that way you guys never miss any more content that I push out. I also want to encourage y'all, please share the content with your Lions friends and family members. Share it here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere and everywhere you possibly can, because the more we can do that, the greater the channel can spread, the greater the channel has a reach, and the more we're able to bring in new viewership for the channel. And with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed the content. Whether you guys are a long-term viewer or this is your first time viewing me, please, I hope you all enjoyed the content. I also hope that everybody out there has got something in their life that makes them happy, makes them smile. God bless, my friends, and until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.